The Habs are in the playoffs! And HabNormals starts now.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.
Hey, everybody. I think I should have warned Ryan I was going to scream like that.
You just blow his eardrums out, why don't you?
Yeah, I realized it after I did it. Hey, everybody. We have a hopefully very fun show to do tonight. The Habs are in the playoffs. It took them 82 games to get there. It didn't look like they were going to make it at the end, that's for sure, but they made it. So obviously we're going to talk about that in the show tonight. We're going to quickly just go over the last four games, and I think I'm surprising both of these guys with 3 stars of the week, if they can come up with them. Then we're going to get into talking about the first series, first round playoff series for between Montreal and Washington. All the playoff matchups are now set, so we're going to end with the predictions, just winner of all the 8 series that are coming up. So I hope I didn't catch you guys. And we could show. Never mind what I'm going to say. So we're going to do that. You can see how prepared I was. I'm just really excited about playoff hockey again.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you
and I
think
came
about it,
from
right?
an era where just making the playoffs was nothing, but that's what we've come to. That we're this excited about making the playoffs.
But I mean, if you think about it, right, the whole subject matter of the show really kind of hinged on the last couple of games, right? Like it was between playoff preview and like kind of the postmortem, right? It was
that's it. And our next couple of weeks at least schedule was going to be: are we doing games or we're in off-season mode?
Right. Well, and then like I texted you, I got my vacation coming up too. So I mean, like I said, luckily I'm able to get most of the series on stream.
I'm sure you'll find a way to watch it.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I booked my vacation in November for May, so the Canadiens better not go on a run if they know it's good for them.
What if they're the Cinderella team?
Then I guess I'm screwed.
I should introduce everybody to our guest. We got tonight, special guest for you tonight, Ryan Szporer of the Hockey Writers. I'm going to say E-Magazine. Would that be right to say that?
Publication is fine. I don't know
anyway,
how we...
Online, that's where you get it. The Hockey Writers, and that's Ryan Szporer. What, second or third time? A second time on here, I think, eh?
Third.
Yeah. No, second. I did that.
One time pucking around. That's where.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
That's where me too in my head. It's the third time. Anyway, we have all that to talk about, and I think I forgot to throw in a subject there, and we're gonna have to talk about Ivan Demidov. Definitely gonna have to talk about Ivan Demidov. And
wait. Who's Ivan Demidov?
Okay. Maybe we got the wrong Ryan Szporer. I'm not sure.
I have never heard of this Ivan Demidov.
Yeah, you have to be living under a rock in Montreal to not have heard of Ivan Demidov. Don't you think?
I guess I've been living under a rock.
He's obviously joking, everybody.
Wait. Did the Canadiens make the playoffs?
Yes. Where have you been? You've been what? You
under a rock, apparently.
Or on vacation somewhere where they didn't have communications. And I know it's not true because I read his writing, so I know that he's writing stories about this, so he knows what he's talking about. All right. Let's just quickly go over the last 4 games. The last 4 games that got Montreal into the playoffs. Would have been nice if it could have been in the first of those 4. And the reason it's only 4 is because last show, these are the 4 games that were left in the season that we didn't talk about. They were last Friday, a loss in Ottawa, 5-2, a loss in Toronto on Saturday, 1-0, and it was a much better game from the Friday game. It was an overtime loss. Mm-hmm. Monday, in a game I was sure they're going to win this game. How could they lose that game to Chicago? But they lost to Chicago in a shootout, 4-3. But you guys, would you agree? Like, how the hell you wouldn't have thought that anyway, right?
Well, the Canadiens did lose to the Blackhawks in January. This is their MO. I know. So I wasn't shocked. And the Blackhawks, to their credit, they beat the Senators like the next night or whatever. So it's not like they're completely helpless.
You got to think too. The Blackhawks are in like spoiler mode. You know what I mean? They were going to throw everything they had to try to, piss a lot of people off.
with so much on the line, I would have thought, better performance from Montreal. So they left it to the last game, which was Carolina on Wednesday, and Carolina. A depleted Carolina lineup because they sat 7 players, and from what if I heard the stat right, that was 50% of their offense all season. With that, so and even that, right at the beginning, first period, Carolina had to give you, like, you were wondering, is this going to be Chicago again? Because that's
definitely got nervous.
It looked just the same way that Chicago was keeping, forcing, being aggressive on the forecheck, keeping Montreal on their heels. It looked like a repeat.
Well, thankfully, if it would have been a repeat, like the Canes would have gotten a point in overtime, so it would have been all
true.
Good.
And that's all they needed was a point. And I'd been happy with that. I don't care if they backed in. I don't care how they got in. I was going to be happy with it. But I'm kind of glad it wasn't left till tonight to wonder what Columbus was going to do.
How is Columbus doing right now? Do we know? Should I check?
It's kind of anticlimactic, no?
I don't know. Satisfy my own curiosity.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know what it is. So those were the games.
Columbus is leading 3-0 over the Islanders in the second period.
And they haven't beaten the Islanders on the island in like a long time, like 7 years, I think I heard. So yeah, it's kind of, good thing that Montreal won last night, because it didn't look like Columbus was going to help us out in any way. So that's a good thing. All right, so the Saturday game, Jacob Dobish, amazing performance. If it not for Dobish, they don't get a point out of that game. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Like an amazing performance. And then last night against Carolina, Monty gave up 2 goals, but I thought that was another really solid performance. If not, I don't know if it's amazing, but it was
solid. And it was nothing he could really do about either. Like, maybe, I know the pucks kind of squeaked through him on the second goal, but
yeah, the Tyson
in the crease, it's like, any man's puck. And the first goal, it's a deflection. You can't blame
it was a deflection off Gouli, and you're not going to blame Gouli for his overall performance.
No, and a deflection, especially right in the crease like that. How can he react to it?
Yeah, I think it was, like you said, a solid performance, but I think we need to call a spade here and say that, okay, the Hurricanes didn't exactly ice their best lineup. No, and Canes weren't facing, and Montembeault wasn't facing the top offensive weapons that the Hurricanes have to offer. But
granted,
that's how these things work, where top teams rest their players when they heading into playoffs, and the Canadiens were fortunate to run into one such team on their final game of the season.
Yeah, and it was fortunate. So, but it doesn't take away my thoughts on how I think the first round series with Washington is going to go. First of all, they are starting on Monday, so that gives them a couple extra days of rest, which is really going to be important here, because that was a gassed team. Like, Nick Suzuki's gassed. He needs some rest. He's been used so
Lane
much.
Hudson too. All the
Hudson
guys.
too. You could see it in the game. He took a hit, and it took him. He had to take a few seconds to recover from. So you can see this is a gassed team. They need the rest. So that's I think, gonna help. And quite frankly, I think, and I've been saying it, if I'm Washington and I'm getting Montreal, I'm worried. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think the Canadiens, at least based on the way they've played overall since the Four Nations face-off, they're a scary proposition for any playoff team in the first round. I don't have the exact winning points percentage that they accrued over that span in front of me, but it was definitely
top 5 in the league.
It was definitely impressive. But I agree that they'll give the Capitals fits. I'm not prepared to say that the Canadiens are going to win that series just because. Okay, well,
go ahead. Though.
Did you say that in 2010, or is that how you're basing your decision on?
Honestly, I probably did. I don't remember exactly. I mean, I remember the year. I just don't remember if I made a prediction about it. But I mean, I'm sure I said I think the Habs will win because I'm a huge Habs fan. So, no, I'm prepared to say I think that Montreal can win the series.
I think they can. I just don't think they will. I
do. I'm picking them.
Okay. Are we making like official predictions at this point?
Well, and the brackets that remember I was telling you about. But yeah, and there I'm picking Montreal to win that series.
Okay, I would pick. I would pick the Capitals to beat the Canadiens in 6 games.
I'm picking 7, and I think if Montreal's going to win the series, it's going to have to be in 7. So, but yeah, sure. If it's 6 games, yeah, I think if it's anything less than 7, it's going to be the Capitals. No, I really do. I think Montreal can win this game, this series. I think the Capitals kind of limped in a little bit to the playoffs. They've got a couple of injuries that could be key, if I'm correct. I heard about it today.
Are you saying that the Canadiens didn't limp into the playoffs?
Yeah, I get that. But I'm kind of counting on maybe that is the word counting on. I'm looking at the Habs as a Cinderella team, right? But I do still feel they can win this series. Now, I'm not saying Montreal's going to win this series and go on to the finals. I don't know. But I kind of have a feeling that they could be a Cinderella team here. If you look at the ones that have happened, Montreal's stats, where they were early in the season, kind of fits.
Okay, well.
I do think they can beat Washington here. I really do.
Define a Cinderella team. Like, how many rounds do you need to get through to be defined to qualify as a Cinderella
well,
team?
No, I'm talking like doing like St. Louis. There's a couple of teams that have done it recently, right? To win the cup.
You think the Canadiens are going to win the cup?
I'm not saying that. I said I'm not saying they're going to win the cup. I didn't say that. That would shock the hell out of me. I'm not saying that, but I do think they could win this series.
Okay, well, I don't want to like. What's the expression? Jump the queue or go to the front line here or force your hand here. But if the Canadiens beat the Capitals in the first round, wouldn't you say that they're likelier than not to face the Hurricanes in round 2?
Yeah, that's who I have. I have the Hurricanes coming out of first round. Yeah.
I don't see the Canadiens beating the Hurricanes at all.
Oh, I agree. I don't have the Canadiens. I don't have the Canadiens winning the second round. Not that, but I do think they can win this first round.
Okay. I'm more on board with that than any idea of them beating the Hurricanes. Even if it were a round 1 matchup, I don't think the Canadiens would be able to do it.
I tend to agree with you there. I'm not crazy. Believe me, I'm not crazy, Ryan. I promise. But no, I kind of I think they can. I think they can win the first round. Yeah, but after that, unless the Devils somehow beat the Hurricanes, then maybe that changes the equation. I don't know, but yeah, I don't see them going beyond.
Did Jack Hughes get healthy without me knowing?
No.
They're getting Hamilton.
No, I agree.
Hughes is done.
Yeah, so okay.
No, I agree with you that not likely, but it's playoffs. And listen, in the first round, how many years is there a first round series and whatever, and there's not like an upset?
Oh, I'm not saying that upsets don't happen, and I'm agreeing with you that it's possible that Canadiens beat the Capitals. Anything can happen.
Right, there's an upset there. The Devils could upset the any team could do that, right? It happens. We don't know which team it'll be, or if there will be one. We don't really know, but these things do.
Yeah, I just don't think that the Canadiens are the likeliest underdog to be able to pull off an upset. Though.
For me, they are because they're my team. So that's my logic.
Impeccable logic.
I think so. I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
I guess I'm just kind of in the same of the mindset that I'm just glad that they're here, and I'm satisfied with whatever happens at this point. That type of thing.
100% agree with that. And I've said this also. I just want them to get in, and not because I think they're going to win or all that. The experience for these guys going forward, this young team, is incredible. The fact that they were able to lock it down, even though the last day, but they did on the last game. That's a good learning moment for them. And just the experience they'll get out of a first round, even if it's 4 games and out, it's
the
invaluable
motivation
down
too
the road.
for next season, right? Because they're gonna go, hey, we want to come back here again and again and again.
Yeah, I mean, every player would do that.
I think
but just for a team this young, like, it's huge.
I read somewhere, I don't know how accurate this is, but I read this somewhere that the Canadiens were the youngest team to ever.
This stuff here.
There you go.
Youngest team to make the NHL playoffs, but not by a lot. Like I think the other youngest was 26 years old. Yeah, Maple Leafs in 2012-13, and the Habs is 25.95. But
so
the youngest team.
So what's impressed me, and it's just maybe it doesn't impress everyone, because my mind goes back to the Detroit Red Wings and how they've had a tough go of it over the last decade or so, or however long it's been since they last made the playoffs. They've been yo-yoing up and down the standings for what feels like forever, whereas the Canadiens have improved linearly over the course of since they finished in last place in 2022. So it's just the obviously the rebuild is not done, but it's definitely there's unbelievable progress that's been made. And I agree that just having made the playoffs, it's going to be a huge stepping stone to future success, because now you're like effectively 1 year ahead of schedule, because next year, had they missed the playoffs, making the playoffs would have been the goal in 2026.
Right.
But now you already did that. Now you need to go farther.
Yeah. I was listening to Marco D'Amico and Sean Starr today, and Marco was saying, the rebuild's not done, but it's like the first phase of the rebuild is done. They're got to move on to phase 2, and that phase definitely means, especially they made the playoffs now, they really have to get that second line center, and I think probably try to find a top 4 right shot D. I agreed with him on that. That's what he was talking about.
Well, I don't know.
It's kind of imperative, I think.
Well, you're looking at Reinbacher coming up potentially. I don't know how he's going to rehabilitate his. I know he's back from his knee injury, but I don't know how he's going to recover from it in terms of how much of his game he's going to get back.
Apparently his game is coming back, though. He's fantastic down in Laval, from what I hear. So,
I mean, I think the idea, at least when he was drafted, was that he would come up to complement Lane Hudson on the first pairing.
Yeah.
At least projected first pairing, although I think we can all agree that Lane Hudson has established himself as a top pairing defenseman on this team. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, without a doubt. He's the number one guy.
He's the number one guy right now, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So if that's number one pairing of the future. I don't know if you want to necessarily, or you need to acquire a red-handed defenseman.
Well, okay, this is what I think. Like, Rocket are going to be in the playoffs. Hopefully, they have a long run. The Habs will see a lot more of what they have in Reinbacher right now. But you got to admit, right, with the injury and stuff, he might have missed some of his development, and so he may need a little bit of extra time.
Sure.
And it might be a full season. We don't know, right? So if they really want to make the playoffs, they have to make a decision on Reinbacher. I think you're 100% right. If that decision is we think he's going to be the guy, yeah, they don't have to really address that. But then again, he's how old, right? He's be a rookie. Is that who you're counting on necessarily? And then also on the flip side, are you going to go out and make a deal to bring in a top 4 right D and pay him on whatever term when Reinbacher is right there, and and you're not really thinking you're going to make the Stanley Cup final even next year too.
No, I see the way I see it, and not that I necessarily agree with this approach, but the Canadiens have taken to playing Hudson with Gouli on the top pairing, and for all intents and purposes, it's worked. I see that trend continuing, and if you've also got
next year though.
Sorry,
I don't. Okay, I'll let you finish first, and I'll go with my thoughts. I don't want to interrupt you.
And you've got Alexandre Carrier under contract for another year. They're not trading him in the off season, like he's staying put over the course of his contract at the very least. So I don't know if you need a top 4 right-handed defenseman if you've got Reinbacher and Mailloux in theory.
I don't think Mailloux's close enough yet, really. From what I'm hearing, I don't know because I don't know personally, right? But it's from what I'm hearing. Yeah, I mean, you might be right. You might be right. And I think for me, what I was always thinking when I'm hearing this stuff is like, what are you going to do if you go out and reach out for a guy like that, like a top 4 right shot D? I mean, how do you work that all out with Reinbacher, with Mailloux? Like, there's not enough spots there in the long run, right? So but I think if they really want to make the playoffs and they say they don't think Reinbacher is ready or Mailloux is ready, maybe you find a guy with a year left of term, make a trade for a guy that can come in like Carrier, be solid in that spot.
Well, are we operating under the assumption that they're going to trade Matheson in the offseason?
I'm not operating under that assumption, but I think that's a possibility.
Well, if I think that I don't know how to say this. Okay, let me put it this way. If they want to acquire a top 4 defenseman, I don't see them. It's trading Matheson is kind of counterintuitive. So not that I think Matheson is necessarily going to stay. I'm just saying he's a top 4 defenseman.
Yes.
And if you're playing Hudson with Gouli, which I think is the likeliest possibility, then you've got
a really good pair too. I really like the way that they play together. Complement each other really nice, I think.
I mean, I personally prefer to play Gouli on the left side, but it is what it is.
Right.
I mean, but that's your 2 best defensemen, and then it kind of you're seeing a drop off a little bit after. I think right now it's what you've got, but I think next year, I don't know that Gouli and Hudson will be together. If Reinbacher is here, I don't know next year that you're playing him on the top pairing either. So maybe for another year you might have that, but I don't think that's long term.
Or you could go back to Hudson and Struble.
And Struble and Hudson do work well together. They have good numbers, good metrics. Yeah. I mean, I think almost anybody you play Hudson with is going to work, but it's not true, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we're gonna bypass the 3 stars of the week this week because we're already into the playoff talk. I just want to say my 3 stars, because I've got them, were Monty 3, Dobish 2, Demidov 1. I know Demidov didn't totally earn it, but I did it anyway. Okay, we can move on from that. I wanted to get
before we do though. I do want to touch on a performance, especially last night, that I think was critical in securing the win. And if I had to throw my 3 stars right now, he'd be on there. But for me, I'd have to go with Monty, Suzuki. No, I would go for me, Monty, Gouli, and Juraj Slafkovsky. And for me, it was just for Slav last night. I thought, he's one of the best players on the ice. He was everywhere, winning just about every battle he was in. I mean, he was critical in all 3 goals. All 3 goals, and it's the empty netter. But I really wanted to touch on him because I thought he was very impressive last night.
Demidov being in the lineup definitely might have given Slav a little kick in the ass in that he better, he's got to sort of step up his play to keep his spot literally on line 1. Potentially, anyway.
Well, I think like the way this shakes out, there is no other logical. Like Demidov is eventually usurping Slavkovsky on the depth chart.
You got to think, yeah.
So it's inevitable. Not that I'm suggesting that Demidov is like, the same caliber player as Kaprizov or whomever. With obviously Demidov set a new record in the KHL, surpassing Kaprizov's total for points by an under 20-year-old. But I'm suggesting that Demidov, based on his performance thus far, has come as advertised as a potential top line player. So it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, but I don't think yet. I mean, I think that's out of camp next year. I think you're right. I just don't think in the playoffs they're going to do that to Demidov, to throw him in like that. So, but I do think once the playoffs start, I think, Demidov is solidly a second line winger right now. And, you mentioned his skills. I mean, he's got crazy skills.
Yes. I mean, I think he probably left like 2-3 points on the board because his, Newhook couldn't finish or whatever.
But his hand speed's ridiculous. That goal he scored, I still don't know how it's humanly possible to pick the puck up basically on the goalie and in one fluid motion that quick go forehand to backhand and put it in like that.
I obviously had to write. I'm Rick knows, but I wrote the recap of that game for the Hockey Writers, and I was watching it live, obviously. But I had to watch that goal like 5 times, and I still couldn't get like a good read on what exactly transpired, like how he got that puck.
It was so quick. Even if you slow it down, it's too quick. Like it's crazy.
He was so on top of the goalie to pull it away and around the goalie like that. You don't see that very often. I've seen a lot of him in practice, some video, and man, I have not seen hands handle a puck the way he does. I haven't seen the hand speed of moving the stick, the deception. Like, he's so fast. There was one video where he puts the puck through the guy's stick and feet, and it looks like he literally passes his own stick through the other guy's stick. He's so quick at pulling the stick out and back on the other side. Excuse me. It's crazy.
I remember
crazy. And that's what you heard a lot about. His hands. Yeah, they weren't lying.
I remember after the Canadiens drafted him 5th overall, it must have been some kind of practical joke, or this guy was just that much of a conspiracy theorist. But there was someone going around suggesting that like Ivan Demidov was like generative AI or something, and the Canadiens got tricked into picking him because no one had seen him from North America live or something. It was so stupid.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you what. Have you seen him just stick handle in practice? He's so fast. He moves his hands so fast. He looks like AI. I swear. But I've never seen a player have hands as quick as this kid's hands.
I mean, he's he projects as a franchise player. So
yeah, I mean, like you said, he's come as advertised.
Yeah.
So now, it remains to be seen, can he keep that going? But I don't see why not. I don't see why not. We've got.
I think we all need to knock on wood at this point. Just
that we got him.
No, I don't want anything to happen to him.
True. So, well, that's what Arbor's around for, supposedly, right? Keep him under.
If St. Louis dresses him, we don't know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wouldn't against the Capitals with Tom Wilson in the lineup.
From what I'm hearing, probably not first game, and depending how first game goes, but probably going to see Arbor second game. That's what I'm. But I mean, that's this is somebody's opinion. What do you think?
I think if you why would you not dress him in game 1 if you plan on dressing him in game 2?
I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm just saying this was someone's opinion. That wasn't mine. No, but I said this before they made the playoffs that, Arbor's going to be playing in the playoffs. You got to play a guy like that. Playoff hockey is different. And you're right, a guy like Tom Wilson on the other side. I kind of want Arbor out there because every time we play Washington, when Wilson's in the lineup, Arbor's in the lineup. Wilson's pretty quiet.
I would agree with that assessment.
I do know. This is what I know. Washington is missing somebody on the second line, on Dubois' line, and what I think was Marco D'Amico and Sean started talking about that is we're going to find out is if Pierre-Luc Dubois is the real deal right now with how he's playing this year, or if a lot of that is this guy, and I don't know the name of this guy. Someone on the second line. I don't know Washington's roster enough to know that.
Okay, well, if only we
had
had
a couple of injuries that are important, or maybe it was Dallas I saw too that have some important. I don't. I could be
Dallas might be without Heiskanen and Jason Robertson.
We could talk about that after, but I was thinking there's something on Washington. There's something where they're have an injury or something.
Washington. Oh, you mean Alexei Protas?
Well, I know Protas is out because he got hurt.
I'm looking at ESPN's injury list for the Capitals. You got defenseman Martin Fervery.
Yeah, he's
defenseman Matt Roy, defenseman John Carlson, Alexei Protas, and Logan Thompson in it.
Well, so it's not those guys. All right, I you know what, I was doing dishes and I didn't pay close enough attention to know who the names were mentioned. And listen, at my age, I sometimes mix things up, so I probably did. I still feel Washington is a team Montreal could potentially beat. So, yeah, I'm picking them. What other aspects of this playoff matchup? You guys got anything else to add to that?
I didn't know that John Carlson was injured. I mean, that's kind of big.
That's a big one too. Yeah,
huge minute.
I mean, in my defense, it didn't go into details.
Yeah,
they could have just been resting him.
True, but it depends. If he's on the injured list, it's not resting. The guys they rested were listed as scratch.
Carlson rest in brackets won't play Thursday versus the Penguins. Yeah. Bailey Johnson, the Washington Post reports.
Right. So
the Capitals will play 13 forwards and 5 defensemen for the regular season finale.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The one guy I don't know is Logan Thompson back from injury, because that could be a big loss right there for them. Have you seen the guys they had in net the last few games? Oh my God. Not even close to being NHL caliber.
Thompson, upper body. This is RotoWire. Skated Thursday, but isn't expected to dress versus the Penguins.
Versus the Penguins, yeah, but it's no word about the series. So.
My inclination is they're just resting him. Like there might be something minor, but the plan is...
No, he's been out for a while. Thompson's been out for a little while. I know because I have him in fantasy.
Yeah, but I'm saying that like if I believe that they would say that he's out for a determined period of time if he wasn't going to. They wouldn't expect him back for the playoffs.
Okay, maybe but then again, how ready is he? I mean, I just think it's a question mark. That's all.
But like. I don't think Lindgren is that bad of an option. He's worse, obviously, but he's emerged as a legitimate NHL goalie. And maybe I'd give the edge to Montembeault over Lindgren. But I still think that the Capitals overall are a superior team. So it wouldn't be that significant.
I don't disagree with that, but it's the playoffs. And, it's a different animal. Season starts again. It's a new season. And I think that Montreal has a chance. That's all. I just think Montreal has a chance here. And things have to break their way. I get it. But I'm not. You're not convincing me not to keep saying Montreal.
I mean, I'm not trying to convince you.
I know you're not. I'm just saying you're not. Okay.
I think it's a perfectly valid opinion to say that the Canadiens have a chance against the Capitals.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying not too many people are saying that. You know, oddly, Spittin' Chicklets guys are one of them is picking Montreal, but not too many people are picking Montreal, and I get that.
Yeah, but to your point, not too many people are going to choose the 8th seed over the number 1 seed.
No, of course not. Only idiots like me.
But sometimes idiots like you are right. So this could be one of those times.
That's right. I'm hoping I'm right this time. Listen, I was right about.
I hope you're right. I don't pick my own teams. That's why I didn't pick the Habs in the first round.
Well, if I feel that now last time against the Leafs, I was one of the only picking Toronto. I was one of the only ones who wanted to take Toronto on that year, and I was right then. So my record's okay.
It's also the Leafs.
Yeah. Okay, so how about we do this now? Since I think I don't know what more we can say about this series that's, for Montreal.
I guess how about
what?
The only other thing, too, that I think could maybe play a factor is kind of the emotional fatigue with the Capitals now, because, pretty much all the season was geared towards Ovi breaking the record. He broke it, and they've kind of come back to earth a little bit, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I remember in the chat I was saying that to Alex and to
a lot of people that have watched on YouTube have kind of brought that up too. Yeah.
Yes, that's a thing.
Let me say this: there is no one on the Capitals roster other than a headhunting Tom Wilson that scares me. Not even Ovechkin, because he's not the dominant player he once was. Dylan Strome, I believe, led them in points in the regular season.
Yeah.
And that doesn't scare me. What scares me is, I wouldn't say scare, but what has led me to believe that the Capitals will beat the Canadiens is just their sheer depth. But no, I don't think it's going to. I don't think the Capitals are going to run roughshod over the Canadiens for the simple reason that Nick Suzuki doesn't scare most people in this league. That's their problem because he's obviously a number 1 center, and he's proven that time and time again. He's a legit top line number 1 bordering elite center in this league. I think he ended with he was the 6th in center scoring or something like that.
Yes, 6. You got it right.
Something like that.
Yeah, 6th in center scoring.
So if Nick Suzuki doesn't scare you, how can Dylan Strome possibly scare you? That's my reason.
They don't. I think you're right about the depth, but you know what? In one series, if you're taking the whole playoffs, you're right. Montreal's depth is an issue, but I think in one series, it might not be. If no one gets injured, if whatever, right? But they don't have maybe the guys to take in and out of the lineup depending on the look they want. But I think in one series, I don't think the depth is going to be an issue here. But I do think for Montreal to go long into the playoffs, depth could definitely be an issue here.
Well, Yoel Armia is already injured, just for the record.
Yes, his wrist, we know. Yeah.
So they're already dropping like flies. And the playoffs haven't even started.
Okay, but he's on the 4th line. I'm not saying Kapanen is as good a replacement, but I mean it's a 4th liner. It might not.
Are we sure about that? Because they St. Louis started Demidov on the line with Newhook and Armia.
Yeah, but it's already back to line A. Line A, Newhook.
And then he went back to what was working.
Yeah.
Well, was it working though? I think Demidov is going to get that line going, but it hadn't been working line A with Newhook.
Right. It's line A. Line A just wants to park himself in his office and not really do enough. I mean, that's what I think. So line A, I'm hoping Demidov gets line A going. Is what I'm hoping. I'm sure they're hoping that too. But it's already back. I think that's the line you'll see for the first game anyway.
Line A, Newhook, and Demidov.
Yeah. Which is
I'm just saying we don't know for sure where Armia is gonna lineup. That's all.
Fourth line. Evans, Heineman, and Armia.
Okay.
I saw the lines. I don't think they're going to change, from what I understand. But of course, it is still on Monday, and sure, things can change. But that's the projected lines for Monday.
Yeah.
Which was the lines last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I believe so. But like, if only like they had that number 2 center, like a Doc from 2 years ago. But is what it is.
Yeah. I do believe in the offseason they're going to acquire that guy.
That second line center?
I think so, yeah.
I think they will find that guy. I'm not saying that like any GM in this position is going to go out and get that guy. I trust in Hughes a lot, and I think we have the assets to throw at whoever he's targeting, that team. I think we have the assets to get a guy that we need.
It would probably take a Hage going back the other way.
A who?
Michael Hage.
No, that's not going to happen.
I'm just saying, like, to acquire.
No, I get what you're saying, but I don't. That's not going to. I think Michael Hage is pretty much. They do not want to trade Michael Hage.
Well, I agree they don't want to trade him, but if they want to get a legitimate top 6,
yeah, I still don't think it's going to be Hage. I think you're talking about you were probably going to see Beck and Mayugo, and the 2 first-round picks.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, we'll see, obviously. But I'm pretty sure Hage is not – they don't want to get rid of Hage.
Again, I'm not saying they want to get rid of Hage.
No, but okay, I get – but that's now we're speaking – it's semantics. They're not going to get rid of Hage.
Okay.
It's the last thing – like the guy that they would have to acquire to get – like to move Hage for, if that's the case, that guy's going to be amazing. Right? That's – for something like that, they maybe would move Hage. But if it's not like Sidney Crosby coming over, like that kind of caliber.
I don't think you would trade Hage for Sidney Crosby this pitch. But yeah.
That kind of caliber guy, like unless it's that kind of a potential guy, they're not moving Hage, is my opinion.
Okay.
And from what I'm hearing too. Does that mean those people are right? I might not be, but
like you're hearing that the Canadiens are adamant about not wanting to trade Hage?
Yeah, I mean they see Hage as definitely a future piece, if not the future second line center.
My point is that future pieces of other teams have been traded.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it would be an exceptional player coming back if they're moving Hage.
Okay.
Because clearly they see him very highly, and he's working hard to be that second line center. He's doing what he's got to do. He's trying to improve his defensive game. He's bulking up. He's doing what he's going to be doing what he needs to do.
He had a hell of a rookie season with Michigan.
To hopefully be that second line center. Doesn't mean he will be, obviously, right? It doesn't, but I really doubt they're moving him. And like I say, if they are, that guy coming back, it's going to be a guy where you're going to go, well, it's for that guy. Mm-hmm. You can understand, That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree. But I also do, I think we are at a point where, yeah, maybe someone like Owen Beck, could be used to get, that maybe like, I don't know. Like, again, Mason McTavish keeps coming to mind as kind of the guy that I want to target. I could see maybe moving Beck and Mayu for that. I don't think I'd be really all that upset.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get McTavish though. I don't think you are. I'd like to get him, but I don't think you are. I like to see Anton Lundell. I just don't. What I don't know about Lundell is I don't know if he's got the foot speed to keep up with Demidov, like to play that high pace game like that. But I think so. He's got the 200 foot game. He can put up points. He's responsible defensively. Like I think that's the guy. That kind of center they're looking for. Can they get him out of Florida? I don't know, but that's the kind of guy. I see a guy like Jared McCann from Seattle being a guy that could come in. He's got 2 years left on his. That could work if they think Hage is going to be the guy in maybe 3 years. That kind of guy could work.
Yeah.
I don't have any targets personally, so.
No, but I've been working on. I was going to do a video on it. I think a little prematurely, so I didn't do the video. But so that's why it's in my head of those guys, the targets.
I will say if the Canadiens do acquire anyone, I think it's going to be at the draft, just with the 2 first-round picks.
I don't think just though. I think other guys, but I think you're right. I think we're going to get that guy at the draft. I do think that. It seems like that's the most logical place for him to make that deal for some reason to me. To find that guy.
Well, he did it before in 2022 with Doc, so.
Yeah, but I think we're going to get somebody that doesn't have the question marks that Kirby Doc had. Like, I don't think they're going to move what I think they have to move to get this guy. They're not moving that kind of it's that for that price for a guy that's got question marks about whether he's going to be that guy and can do the job.
See, I don't want
legit.
I don't want to beat a dead horse or anything, but I'm thinking like you have to, if you're not going to give up a guy like Hage, you're getting someone with question marks.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. You might be right. I'm definitely not saying you're wrong, but I really don't think they're going to end up moving Hage, and they're going to get.
Let me just clarify. I'm not saying Hage is expendable by any stretch. I'm saying that Hage is arguably the team's top prospect. And that's why.
You're going. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Because to get the kind of guy we're talking about, you have to give up something of quality. You're not going to throw in a bunch of dregs and get a quality player back. So I get that. But I don't think the guys I'm thinking of, plus the 2 draft picks, are dregs. I think that's quality. You just have to have a guy who's a bit of a shark like Hughes. Somehow and hypnotize the other guy and make the deal.
I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's Hughes too. I mean, Christ. I never
saying.
thought they'd get anything for Justin Barron in return. I would have been happy with a buck. And we got Alex friggin' Carrier. Like, I still don't know how he made that trade happen. But, like, and again, just
Barron's playing
I
well.
love that trade so much. So much.
When you look at it, Barron's playing well right now. So, in the end, Nashville got a really good player. That's how that happened, I think. In the end. Because Barron is playing well. Top 4 defenseman over there. Logging, like, lots of minutes. I think so. It worked out kind of for them in the long run, maybe. And they got a younger guy. So, not such a bad deal for Nashville in the long run.
I mean, I still think Montreal wins the deal.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But maybe not. Maybe down the road, it's the other way around. That was the chance. That was the risk of moving Barron.
Yeah, but look at the other young defensemen we have.
I think we can all acknowledge that wasn't working out for Barron in Montreal. So to get someone like Carrier, who has fit in fairly seamlessly, a top 4 defenseman for all intents and purposes, for Barron, who was not getting in the lineup regularly, that's a win in Hughes's win column.
No, without a doubt. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying if Barron turns into the kind of defenseman that we thought he was, then it's a win-win, you know?
Yeah, it has a propensity to work out for the Predators long term for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. And I like I said, I mean, I wish him the best. I think he's a good kid. But I think too at the time, I think it was a move that needed to be made, right? Because that was the glaring problem.
Oh yeah, I did. Look, if he doesn't bring Carrier in, they're not making the playoffs this year.
No, they're not.
No way.
You know, like you said, Ryan, he's basically fit seamlessly on that right side, and he's been a really good stabilizing force. You know, makes a lot of good plays. He makes pretty good decisions. Like, I mean, it's just a really good trade, and at really the perfect time, I think.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's talk matchups that are coming up because all the matchups are in. We've talked out Montreal, Washington. As a matter of fact, I'm keeping track of our picks so we can maybe one day go over this. So Montreal, Washington. Ryan's taking Washington. I'm taking Montreal. Matt's taking Washington. All right, let's talk for a few minutes. Toronto, Ottawa. Battle of Ontario. I agree.
Ottawa.
But I want to see Ryan. What do you think for that one? You're not on the spot. Don't worry. I'm just interested in your opinion.
Yeah. I want Ottawa to win really badly, but I'm going to go with Toronto.
Yeah, I can see that. Believe me.
Fired.
I'm mostly taking Ottawa because I freaking hate Toronto, but also because Toronto's first round record's not great. I do think it's a better team, and they should win that first series.
No, they absolutely should.
I hate Toronto, so I'm taking.
But it's
Ottawa.
like you said too. It's one of those things where you got to prove that you can win a first round series.
They do have to prove it, but
and they haven't proven that yet. So
if you really ask me,
and I hate Toronto.
If you put a gun to my head and say you got, it would be Toronto. I'm not an idiot on paper, but I can't take Toronto in a first round until they can prove that they do win first rounds.
Well, they won a first round after in 2022.
Well, yes, but then they got their asses kicked in and out and around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, do it consistently and maybe go deep. But okay, well, it's fine. All right. You got anything you want to maybe say why? Other than that, why?
I also think Linus Ullmark's a better goalie than Stolarz.
Brady Tkachuk is back tonight, I heard. So.
Yep. And even though Stolarz has been very, very good for Toronto this year, I think Ullmark's been there in the playoffs before. I think Ullmark kind of has the lead for a little bit.
Yeah.
And if he's hot, he's going to be really tough to beat. And again, I take him over Stolarz right now. And I think Brady Tkachuk is he's a Tkachuk. He's going to cause trouble. He's going to be physical. Still, even though Berube's behind the bench, I still think there's guys on that team, Marner especially, if you start really hitting them and laying the body and getting physical, it's going to kind of drive them away. You know what I mean? I still think that's still there. Matthews hasn't been 100 his self, this year. Tavares is old. But I do think they are better defensively than they have been. But I think, again, offensively, if you start getting physical with a couple of guys up front, again, like Marner, Nylander's gotten better, but still Nylander a little bit. You can throw them off their game, and that's it.
I think Nylander's actually been the most proven playoff performer of the bunch.
Yeah, I agree. He's usually the one that him and Morgan Riley usually are the two that kind of do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But again, for those reasons, like you start getting physical with Marner, and he just doesn't want to play.
He cries on the bench.
Same with Matthews a little bit. So yeah, I think it'll go 7 games, but again, until Toronto can prove to me that they can perform in the playoffs, I'm not picking them. I'm gonna pick Ottawa, and it's the Leafs, so I never pick them the Leafs.
Yeah, I just think it's their firepower. So if Toronto, if their offense is really hitting, I don't know that Ottawa matches them up front, but it depends how it goes. I think Ottawa has a chance, but I think realistically, you kind of got to take Toronto. But I'll never do that. So it's never going to do that.
What if it's Maple Leafs and Bruins in a series?
No, still taking the Bruins. I don't hate the Bruins as much as I hate Toronto. Toronto's the team I hate.
Okay.
I'm not a Bruins fan or anything, and I do hate them, but not like I do Toronto. No.
Right. No, I'm right. It's funny because I was kind of the other way for a while until I met Rick, and then I joined him on that.
Yeah,
you know what?
It's not.
I hate the Leafs more than I hate the Bruins.
For me, it's not so much the Leafs as it is the Toronto-based media, and just hearing about the Leafs.
That'll drive you crazy. For me, it's just if it has Toronto in the title, I don't like it. And I'm not joking. I hate Toronto. I hate the city. I hate everything about it. And I hate the Leafs. So there you go. Yeah, I'm a hater for that. I can't help it. All right. Next series we'll talk about is Florida Tampa Bay.
I think there's another 7-game series. I do like Tampa in this because, what percent are you going to get Matt Tkachuk at? What percent are you going to get Marchand at? What percent are you going to get Bennett at? Right? And, the Panthers are dealing with a lot of injuries, fatigue. I mean, they're defending champs. They played a lot of hockey this past calendar year. And I think, Vazzy's found, back to the Vazzy that we know, and love and kind of that elite goaltender. And I mean, Nikita Kucherov is Nikita Kucherov. I think it still goes 7, but I'm going to take Tampa because again, I just think Florida does have a lot of question marks, with injuries and such.
How about you, Ryan?
I'm gonna take the Lightning too. I just have more faith in Vasilevsky than Bobrovsky, even though Bobrovsky obviously performed incredibly last playoffs. He just strikes me as more of a inconsistent goalie than Vasilevsky, who, as Matt has pointed out, seems to have rediscovered his game.
And if I'm correct, it didn't last playoffs. Bob wasn't that great in the first and second round. It was in the later rounds that he really poured on his game. No.
Yeah, he was sort of kind of like, I'm not gonna say average. Like, he was good, but he wasn't. Yeah, you're right. He wasn't the Bob he was in the the third and fourth round.
Yeah. So I'm taking Tampa as well. I think Tampa's. I think also Florida hasn't been playing great at the end of the season here, and I don't know about injuries, but I think the question marks about Tkachuk, that's big. I don't think Marchand's going to do great there. I don't know why. I just don't think Marchand's going to have a great playoffs with them. I'm taking Tampa. And Vasilevsky seems that he is back and playing much better. And that's been a big problem for Tampa, has been Vasilevsky for the last couple of seasons. It hasn't been the Vasilevsky we really have come to know. But it seems like he's back on that track. So, I like Tampa there. All right, then the last one for the Eastern Conference, Carolina and New Jersey Devils. Ryan, you leave that one.
Yeah, Carolina. I don't think I need to go into depth. Just the Devils don't have Jack Hughes, and I believe the Hurricanes are going to have all those players that conveniently were absent last night back in their lineup.
Yeah, they are, without a doubt, right? Without a doubt. Matt, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I pick Carolina. I think not having Jack Hughes hurts the Devils really bad. Getting Dougie Hamilton back is nice. I think defensively they'll be pretty decent. But missing a guy like a superstar like Jack Hughes up front, just doesn't really bode well, really. I think that you can say that for any team, right? If they have a star player like that, if you miss him going in the playoffs, it doesn't bode well. And, I think, too, the other kind of big thing that, again, without Jack Hughes, it's hard to tell, but, I do know that Carolina's peak power play is actually kind of crappy.
It's not the best.
Do they get into games where maybe like that becomes an X factor and maybe they don't execute on the power play when they should? I don't know. But I think their PK, their defensive game, and I think just overall depth is just far superior to New Jersey's right now. And again, that's no slight at like guys like Nico Hischier or Jesper Bratt, but I just think that the Hurricanes just have too many weapons, and I just think they're just too good at so many aspects of the game. Again, just aside from the power play, their power play is not good. But
that's it. But that could change in the playoffs.
No,
you never know, right? It's a new season in the playoffs, and that could change. But you're right about that. I think even with Jack Hughes there, I think I'd still pick Carolina.
I probably would too.
So I think they're a better team overall, and they play such a, how do I want to put it? It's a very
disciplined.
Yeah, I think that very disciplined system, and they all play together like as a unit out there, and I think that really works for them. And I got to go with Carolina too. And like I said, even if Jack Hughes was there, I think. And I'm not sold on Markstrom in the playoffs, to be honest.
Not 100% yet. But yeah,
So,
I mean, I think really New Jersey, the only thing they have going for them is the defense.
Right, and
again,
it's
even
not
if you
going
look
to be
at the
enough
metrics,
here.
Carolina's just better than them everywhere except the power play. But then again, New Jersey doesn't have Jack Hughes, so I don't, that power play is not going to be nearly as good.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. All right. Now we'll move over to the other conference. Winnipeg, St. Louis. For me, I'll just say this: they're the President's Trophy winner. I really do believe that's a jinx. Last season, Winnipeg sucked ass, and Hellebuck was horrible. Does that happen again? If it does, they're definitely out in the first round. So I'm picking St. Louis here. St. Louis is coming in very hot, almost a Cinderella team again. Well coached. I think they got a lot of good weapons. Jordan Binnington, is he? I wouldn't normally pick him, but is he on a high still from the Four Nations? And he's a big game kind of goalie? These are big games. I'm going with St. Louis.
So, I kind of went back and forth on this a little bit because of that President's Trophy thing, but really for me, it came down to, St. Louis isn't going to have Dylan Holloway, and that's a killer. I think that's going to affect them more than I think people think. As good as a coach of, that Jim Montgomery is. And I think without Dylan Holloway, I think they're gonna struggle to put up offense against Winnipeg.
You're right. I didn't think about
and
that.
I think if Connor Hellebuck can kind of shake off what happened in last year's playoffs, I mean, he's been the best goalie now in the league for 2 years. If he can keep that form, I just can't see the Blues even getting this maybe past 5. Like I think I picked Winnipeg in 5. I just think that without Holloway, the Blues are going to struggle to score, and Winnipeg is just up and down the lineup. I just think is much, much better. But again, the President's Trophy curse, if that's a thing, maybe they get upset. I don't see it.
I mean, it's
first round. I don't see it. I'm picking Winnipeg.
Yeah, I don't think the curse is a real thing. It's obviously just superstition.
Right.
So, I'm picking Winnipeg too.
I think the hockey guy did a video on that, and he surprised him. And I didn't watch the video, but I think he discovered that it is a thing. But okay, keep going.
It's a thing in that President's Trophy champions rarely win the Stanley Cup. That's the thing. But
okay, you might be right. I'm jumping the gun in the first round. I get it. And you're like me. Every time I say President's Trophy, I want to say President's Choice because you almost did it. Am I right?
No.
Oh, it sounded like you were going to say Choice. Happens to me all the time, though.
Matt, do you know what President's Choice is, or is that just a Canadian thing?
It's a Canadian
Probably
thing.
a Canadian thing.
Yeah. It's a product. It's a product brand in Loblaws chain.
It's a grocery chain.
Yeah, grocery chain. Groceries. I discovered that word. No, just joking. All right, let's move on to
Say it again. Grocer. What?
Yeah, I know. Nobody's ever heard of that word till I brought it up. No, never mind. Dallas, Colorado. Matt, go first.
So, I think honestly, this is probably going to be the best series of the first round. And it sucks that it's a first round series. Because I think it could possibly make the case to be the best series of the playoffs when all is said and done.
It could be. Well, at least the best first round series.
But, big but. Until today, I thought that. I still think it'll be a great series. But,
yeah,
if Dallas doesn't have Miro Heiskanen and Jason Robertson, they're in massive trouble.
Yeah.
Massive trouble.
And that came out, today?
Today, because Jason Robertson got hurt in the last game of the year, ironically. And Heiskanen, I think, is still rehabbing whatever the injury he got before First Nations.
They got Seguin back,
no? Nations, whatever the hell it was.
They got Seguin back, didn't they?
They got Seguin back, but, Heiskanen is their best defenseman. And Jason Robertson's a really, really good, top line forward. You're missing those two guys. You have Rantanen, but, and it's funny because Steve Dangle, I think, actually made a really good point on this. I was watching his playoff preview earlier, and I think Rantanen is really struggling a bit without McKinnon. He's still Mikko Rantanen. He's still a phenomenal player, but I don't think he's kind of lived up to the high. He hasn't been that player he was with Colorado, right? And I think Colorado has done a masterful job, kind of, with that trade, bringing in Natchez. I think Colorado's playing great hockey right now. I picked Colorado in 7. I think it could still go 7, but again, it just Saturday night we'll see game 1. We'll see how much of an impact not having Heiskanen and Robertson will have on the Stars. But because of that, I do have to pick Colorado. I still think it'll be a great series, though.
Ryan, what do you think?
I'm torn because, they've been without Heiskanen for a while now, yeah?
They have, and they've been able to manage, but I think now you're losing Robertson on top of that. You're kind of expecting, I think, Rantanen now kind of have to be that guy, and can he do that without help per se, right? Because again, he's kind of struggled without Nathan McKinnon. He hasn't been that same type of player.
We knew that in Carolina.
Right.
I'm gonna go with my gut and just say I don't think the Stars are going far. Unfortunately, I agree with you on that, but I do think that they'll manage to get through round 1. So I'm going to go.
I think Jake Oettinger is one of my favorite goalies in the league. I think he's more than capable of maybe stealing a game or 2. But again, we'll see what the impact of not having Heiskanen and Robertson in the playoff type atmosphere will have. Again, that could wind up being a major problem. Who knows? So, again, for that reason, I have to take Colorado. But I think, like I said, I think it'll still probably go 6 or 7.
And if they're out and they get an injury, it does affect their depth too.
Right.
All right, so before I heard any of this stuff, I had already picked Colorado. I think it's more of a gut feeling, I guess. And in my bracket, I actually have Colorado going all the way. So that's how it ended up. I didn't go into it thinking Colorado, but they made some good moves at the deadline. That goalie tandem, those two guys, you wouldn't think like their goalies are going to be adequate even, and it works. Now, does it work in the playoffs? I don't know, but I'm going Colorado. Like I said, I think they might win the cup.
Just to bring it up, because I'm looking at the stats right now, Jonathan Drouin has 37 points in 43 games this season.
Yeah, he's only played 43 games. Now, that's the part that's not the surprise.
But still, 37 points in 43 games.
No, I have to say, when he's playing, Drouin's been good for them. And I think he's back in the lineup. Like, he's not missing the first round, I don't think. So, anyway, I just think probably through the lineup, especially if these two guys are out, I just think Colorado has an edge there. So, yeah, I'm going with Colorado. All right.
No, I agree on paper. Just in my gut, I'm going with Stars. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I'm saying, too, my gut, I'm taking Colorado. So our guts are opposite each other, right? All right. Vegas, Minnesota. I know who Matt's taking. Ryan, you lead off that. Vegas, Minnesota.
Vegas. I don't have hard feelings one way or another. But yeah, I'm gonna say Vegas, I guess. I don't believe in the Wild. That's mainly it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go next, Matt, because you're gonna talk a long time. I don't like Vegas. Matt loves Vegas. I don't really like Vegas, but I don't know, I don't know the status, injuries and stuff like that. But you got to think Vegas is a better team here, and I kind of think they win this. I have it in 5, I think. So yeah, I'm going with Vegas, and yeah, not my favorite team. Matt's taking Vegas, by the way. He's going to tell you why now.
Yeah, so I am taking Vegas. They are my second favorite team that I cheer for. Red Wings, obviously, Habs first, Vegas, then the Wings. But I think for me, it's just also just the way the Vegas has been playing this whole year. They've been basically operating like a well-oiled machine. Minnesota, I think, is getting a lot of guys back from injury. I think they're going to have Kaprizov back.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have Ek back.
Yeah.
They're kind of basically going to have everybody back. The question is, can they find the form they had before those guys got hurt, where they were one of the best teams in the league? If they do that, I think they make it interesting. It probably goes 6 or 7. But if they struggle, I think I'm with you, Rick. I think it's probably done in 5. Yeah. Like, I just think, I think Vegas is just that much better. And, with the cup experience and things like that, I can't see Minnesota winning this series. But again, if they kind of regain that form they had at the beginning of the year, they could probably make it interesting. And again, probably a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah,
which would be cool because I'll be in Vegas for those last couple games.
I think if Minnesota finds their form, it goes 7. But I still think Vegas is the better team here overall.
Yeah,
especially like you said, more experience in the playoffs. I think they may even be a better built team for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they win here. Yeah. Were you going to add something, Ryan?
No, I think
I
was just kind of jealous that Matt said he was going to be in Vegas. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yes, that's where I'm going on vacation. So I'm hoping it goes a few more games because I'd love to get to T-Mobile Arena for one of them.
Yeah, what are the tickets going to go for, though? Jeez.
True, man. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it'd be fun.
Where there's a will, there's a way, Rick.
That's true. All right, we're down to the last series. LA and Edmonton. I do not trust Edmonton here. I just don't trust them to pick them. So I'm picking LA. Not much more than that reason, to be very honest.
So I'm picking LA too. I think on the LA side, I think Darcy Kemper's been having a phenomenal year. I think he's a great goalie. I think the Kings in general have, again, kind of taken more of a step. I know they're kind of putting pieces together, and kind of coming back to the limelight. I think they have played really, really good hockey. They have great players there, Byfield, and Kopitar's still awesome. Doughty's still awesome. But I think on the Edmonton side, Skinner's been injured. What percentage is he going to be at? Draisaitl's been dinged up kind of down the stretch here. McDavid's had an off year by his standards. And just in general, I just feel like the Oilers haven't really been playing the best hockey this year. They don't look like the team that they were last year. No. And I think a lot of that had to do with letting guys like Dylan Holloway and Warren Fogle, who's playing with LA, who's probably chomping at the bit to kick the crap out of the Oilers. Letting guys like that walk for nothing, right? Because look at what they've done on their respective teams that they've gone to. So, I think it probably, because of the McDavid Draisaitl factor, I can see it maybe going 6, but I think LA wins this. I can't really picture a scenario where they don't, unless McDavid plays really, really pissed off. Then they're in trouble.
Well, I got it in 7. I think if LA is going to win, it's got to be in 7. How do you feel about it, Ryan?
I would love nothing more than for the Kings to finally vanquish the Oilers in the first round, because nothing they've done over the last 3 years now has it been that they've faced, nothing has worked.
It's kind of like Caps and the Pens, right, from back in the day, and like now, obviously the Bruins are going to be a ways away from the playoffs, but like the Bruins and the Maple Leafs, right, it's that same type of thing where you play each other over and over and over, and you just can't get that win.
But even if I want the Kings to win, even if I really want the Oilers to lose, because I take joy in the misery of other Canadian teams' fan bases.
Leafs Elimination Day is a national holiday.
That I can confirm that is true in Canada, just not in Ontario. I'm picking the Oilers. I know all the circumstances surrounding, injuries and lack of performance down the. I get that, But you said that if McDavid gets angry, the Kings are in trouble. I don't see how McDavid won't get angry in the first round series.
Right. Same with
I
Kucherov in that Tampa, Florida series. If he gets plays pissed off, I'm running your show up and down the ice. I mean, Florida's gonna get their asses kicked. But yeah, like I said, I think it could be the very same thing with McDavid. If he gets in that mood where he's pissed off and he's just gonna just dominate everything, then I could see the Oilers pulling it out. But
I think it's good.
Like,
I think it's going to go 7 games, and I think I'm taking the Oilers, even though, like I said, I want LA to win. I just don't think with all the offensive weapons that the Oilers theoretically have at their arsenal, assuming they all play, that I just don't see the Kings beating them over a 7-game series or a best of 7 series. I don't think the Oilers are going to go far in the playoffs past the first round, but I do see them getting past the Kings.
Okay, I'm glad you actually said that but I could see if they catch sort of what they had last year, because I didn't think they'd go far last year. And I don't know, they caught lightning in a bottle or something. If that happens again, sure, the Oilers, I think, could win here and maybe even go far, but I don't see them going far in the playoffs. So if they do beat LA here, yeah, I don't see them going far either. All right. Well, just to tally it all up, we're unanimous on 3 of the series. That's Tampa, Florida. We all had Tampa, Carolina, New Jersey. All had Carolina, and Vegas, Minnesota. We're all the same on that. So the only out of 8, we're unanimous on 3. Yeah, not bad. Anyway, I'm going to keep this, and after the playoffs, we'll have you back, and we'll see how we did.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so that's going to do us for today. Yeah, I don't know. We'll be back next week. There'll be some playoff games that have happened already, and we'll have that to talk about. So, yeah, thanks, everybody, for being here. Super appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan, for being here once again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much.
Again tonight. Always great to have you on and hear your opinions. And if remind you, Ryan writes for the Hockey Writers. Look for it out there. Exclusively the Canadiens, right? For you?
I mean, there was a point in time when I was a writer at large, writing for all the teams, but yeah, exclusively Canadiens these days.
So you're a Habs fan and you want to read what Ryan is writing about, go to the Hockey Writers or go follow him on Bluesky. I don't know if you're on Twitter still, but go follow him there. And,
I'm on both.
You're on both. And I know that he puts up his stories there. You can catch him from there too. All right. So thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section and give us your opinion on the series as well. We'd really appreciate that. And that's it. I won't keep you going. Until next time, stay safe out there. Peace out. And thanks for being here as always. And that's going to do it for us as I get everything set up. And have a good one, everybody.
Go Habs, go, baby.
Swagger down the street with your red